Are you a tag agency or dealership that handles vehicle titles and registration? Your voice matters. Big changes are coming to title and registration processes.
Hey everyone, welcome back for an ASOTU Edge webinar. We've got something pretty new today. We're going to be talking about where is your title department behind the curve and the next level of support and services. We are going to be joined, of course, by Kyle Mountsier. We also have today Jordan Cox, who's our head of community. And then our two guests are going to be Beth Caro. She's wonderful, the founder of NIVTA, which is the National Independent Vehicle Title Agents, as well as Erica Calderon, who is the director of member development at the Maryland Auto Dealer Association. So take it away, Kyle and Jordan. Thanks so much for being here, everyone.
What is up, Jordan, on the webinar, bro?
Oh.
Let's go.
Oh, man, let's go.
All right. I'm going to start in on this one because I know that you've sold cars before in your life, right? All right.
That's right.
So track with me. You sold a car 29 days ago, right? 29 days ago. Everything was wonderful, happy, joyous. You sent them off with a bow on the car. They were laughing and smiling because they would always laugh and smile at you. And then you've done all your follow-up calls, day 2, day 5, day 9, day 15. You're crushing it, right? And then on your cell phone, you get this call from this customer. It's day 29. You pick it up. What's that call about every single time, Jordan? Tell me what that call is and why your anxiety is now raging.
My temporary plate expires tomorrow. What do I do?
That's exactly it. I'm telling you what, if I had $1 for every time I got that call as a salesperson, a finance manager, a sales manager, every single one of that, like, where's my title? Where's my tag? I don't have a tag yet. All of that type of stuff. Like, it is.
That's right.
And it doesn't, I don't know. Maybe there's a state out there that I don't know about yet that's like crushing this, like everything's in time, the processing of the lien, the paperwork, all of that is just tight. The digital process is perfect, but I don't know of one. Do you?
No, not at all. In fact, so I'm in Indiana, in northern Indiana. So a lot of times we had to do titles not only in Indiana, but also in Michigan, also in Illinois, also in Ohio. That was such a problem for us, especially 10 years ago. And man, I feel guilty even saying this, but 10 years ago, it was so hard for us to do a title that we would give it to the customer and say, can you go take care of this and do it yourself? Because it was that complicated and we did it all the time.
Yeah. And I don't think much has changed, at least. I mean, there's been some changes, especially in some states out there, but this is, I think when I think of like the variable operations department and its consideration of the post-purchase consumer experience, it's just not something that we've talked a lot about. We talk about the digital experience as it looks like, getting to interest in a car. We talk about the in-showroom experience. We maybe even follow up. We talk about that 1, 2, 3 day follow-up, that long-term follow-up, what the post-purchase experience really is like. And when you actually look at like larger brands like a Carvana or a CarMax who struggle with this as well, you see that's the majority of the consumer complaints, actually, because the ether is worn off. They just expect practicality to work.
That's right.
And so we thought we'd talk about it today.
That's right. It's the last touch, man. That's so powerful and so meaningful.
Yep. Exactly. Well, hey, look, let's not have us talk about it. Let's let the experts talk about it and the people that can actually potentially make some change. We got a little commercial for you, and then we'll welcome our new friends here.
Accepting a trade-in at your dealership? Don't take any chances. An NIVTA's title history report gives you the real story behind every vehicle. Check for title fraud, damage history, and more, so you know exactly what you're getting.
All right. Look, welcome Beth and Erica to the ASOTU Edge webinar. I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to start right in and just do a little bit of get to know you. Erica, I'd love to kind of start with you, and then I'll get to Beth and we'll lead off with some thoughts from her. But Erica, tell us, like, what do you do? Where are you from? And what are y'all about? What are you excited about today?
So I have been in automotive since 2023. And in 2006, I got moved to the accounting office, which then put me into the title department. And the title clerk actually quit. And so I had to learn my job from the motor vehicle administration. Then in 2012, I switched roles into becoming a controller, which I still obviously had a hand in tag and title because, your employee is off, it's sick, so obviously I could help out. So I did that. And now I'm at MADA and I still get to support my dealers, which I love most of all because obviously that's home for me. And so this is where I'm at.
Awesome. Very good. Well, welcome to the show. Beth, tell us a little bit about your history, and then let's start off with like what what are we talking about today? Why is titling so important? So give a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, and then maybe correct us or encourage us where we were right or wrong in our intro segment there, Beth.
Oh, thank you, Kyle. Thanks, Jordan. It's so great to be here with you guys today. We've had many moments together, but it's great to be here on this webinar. And I've been in the automotive industry since I could walk. My family has owned an independent dealership in Maryland where I worked in every department, parts, service, and I ended in the sales department and also helping out with the tag and title. And that's where it's really sparked my desire to create an organization that can better our industry. As I've worked at a very high level attending dealer conferences like yourselves and other conferences on topics that affect what we do in the dealership, it really sparked a need in my mind to find this middle ground so that those folks that are in the back end of the dealerships and in tag and titles across this country have the opportunity to voice their feedback. What's not working? What's holding up the customer from getting that tag, Kyle and Jordan? Because that temp tag scenario, right before I jumped in this webinar today, that's the exact email I got from a dealer. They got a call. So I already sent my processor over to the other office to get them taken care of. So that's what's going on. We all have to help in and pitch in and with what's going on to get that into that sale wrapped up and taken care of.
All right. So talk to us about NIVTA, because it's a fairly new organization that you've created, and it's kind of like the gatherer of this group of people that need to have the opportunity to provide feedback, as opposed to just regulation or technology being created in a silo, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, as we're dealing with all of the technology and modernization changes happening, back in the beginning of 2024, I really took a deep dive to pull together my network resources to build NIVTA. NIVTA, as Anne-Marie said, is the National Independent Vehicle Title Agent Organization. And this is something that's very new for our industry as a whole, because there's not been a place for those title clerks that are handling that end of the sale for you as a salesman or an F&I manager. And this is a sore spot in the industry. And as everyone is working digitally to pass laws, change things so we can do e-signatures, digital titles, utilizing our tools within technology that we have in our space, it's important that we don't forget about the small, how we dot the I and cross the T's in our title work. And we're still dealing with major differences between the states, where one state's going to require an original of this, where another state is going to require a copy or an electronic signature. So as these states are aligning to accept their title work processes in the way of the paperwork presented to them, it's really important that the entire community pulls together in a large volume voice to say, this is not working right now. Can we make this change today? Because these are things that we don't have to wait 5 or 10 years for laws to finally pass or for a system to be developed.
Man, so Kyle, I can only imagine if we had a resource like NIVTA 10 years ago. Imagine like not just like the legalities and the changes to make things easier, but like the push to actually make a good experience for customers with their titling. That's
Right.
mind blowing.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
Kyle.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to jump in real quick. Jordan, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I hear you guys talk every day on this show, and I love what you're doing to talk about the people and the community. And that's what NIVTA is about. It's not just the internal people in our community, but the external, the customers.
Yeah. So when you think about this, like, what are the things that most title departments are struggling with right now that could use more leverage at, especially the state level? I'd love to hear that, Beth, from you, and then maybe Erica kind of couple down on that, on what are the conversations happening at the state levels, because I know that the state associations chat too. They're not just operating on an island. So what are the things that are kind of getting talked about right now that need more leverage in these state conversations, Beth?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of what we need leverage on are the way that we handle signatures in our documents. Things are slowed down in the channel of how the title work is processed because of the wet signature requirements, the original document requirements, and we're looking at some really high level items that can change within industry. Like I was mentioning, every state's a bit different in how they do things. And so we're taking on examples from other states and what's happening in those spaces where they've made some slight changes. It's working. So now let's echo that out to the rest of the community. The states made this change in their dealer reassignments. It's working. All right, let's copy that. Let's make that flow across the rest of this country and open that up to these other businesses in these other states. I really feel some of the major challenges that Erica and I have really been in the deep talking about lately are our workforce challenges. We have a lot of title clerks that have moved during COVID, taken other positions, retired. Frankly, a lot of them, were so close to retirement ages, they said, that's enough. I cannot handle it anymore. These DMVs are closed. We can't get these plates for these customers. They're at a point. So we've been really talking about the workforce challenges. And that's one of the items we talk very closely with the DMVs on, is having the opportunity to get training material, work with them to build out webinars, in-person training. So that way the title clerks that are at the table now have that type of support. And that's where folks like Erica comes into play. Erica does a great job to help serve her members, from the smallest question to those really big, complicated questions. And so I really want to help to make sure to have the state associations for the dealership community shine. And so that's why Erica and I talk often. That workforce topic, that's a hard one. So
we actually make sure that we seek out providers that are partners to our dealers. Can you reach them on the phone? Can you talk to them?
That's
if
right.
you have a problem, can you actually talk to them? So we try to handpick the best vendors for our dealers so that there's less headache. We really talked to Beth about, obviously we had some dealers that contacted us and as far as retirement is concerned, and, they're looking for a new title clerk. And so we try to contact Beth and say, hey, do you have anybody you can recommend? What can we do? So we make sure that we contact each other and, we push things back and forth to see how we can collaborate as a team to make sure that we come up with the best solutions for our dealers.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
see the state associations across the country. They're massive in pushing forward regulations or even legislation when it comes to broad scale automotive things, right? I'm sure that there's work being done to work with the local and state level DMV practices to kind of move this forward. What are you seeing right now that are the largest concerns, or the ones that maybe if more dealers knew about some states we're working on, they could press their states to kind of work in the same direction. Like where are the leaders, and who should be pushing their local reps to move in that direction?
So I have to say there's obviously, we just had a system crash, right? So, clearly communication with our dealers has been major. With us in Maryland, we've been able to contact our dealers and make sure that they're okay. Vendors helped vendors, and we all communicated and made sure that everything was out to our dealers in a quick time. Now, that didn't happen with every association, because a lot of motor vehicle administrations, I guess they would call them DMVs, around the different states chose to act differently. But here at Maryland, which I can speak for, we made sure that we communicated with our dealers very quickly and got out that. And Beth was definitely involved in that. And we were involved in making sure that everybody had communication on what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big problem, is technology and like how that disrupts the flow,
Yeah.
not only for dealers, but for customers. Beth, what would you say, like what state is doing it well? If we were to look at one state, what state is doing it so well that the other state should copy that?
Yeah, well, I think that the hot state right now is West Virginia.
Yeah, that's cool.
I had a feeling that you were going to nod too.
That came out of nowhere.
Left field, huh?
West Virginia. By God.
Maryland's pretty close.
Yeah, so West Virginia has been working in the space of creating an online portal that's accessible to all. So if you're a title clerk and you sold a car to a West Virginia resident on the other side of this country, and you tend to maybe pull in more of those customers, you can sign up and go into their portal and have your customers' plates to them in a week.
Wow.
West Virginia, before COVID, took 6 to 8 weeks at a minimum to get a plate.
Wow.
With that one simple portal change. And the vendor behind that, and Erica and I work with so many vendors in our space, so we decided we'll just keep it broad. Everyone can do their research or reach out to us. But the vendors behind that project are working diligently to make sure that there's access to all. And we talk about this in so many spaces, but that's a thing for title clerks. Like, we need access. We need to take care of our customers. And I wanted to say that project, Erica, that we did during the cyber attack, I am so proud of that in Maryland, because we got the state overnight to build out a temp tag online product on their website. So those that didn't have access to their on-site systems had a place to still go and sell cars with a legal plate on it. And having a solution put together like that, and working alongside with the state associations to put forth a change so quickly to open up and resolve a problem that we all dealt with for weeks was essential. So I was really, really happy to work together with Erica on that. And I think that that's just a shining moment to talk about what happens in our space together. So
Are there current resources available for title clerks that may be new in the industry, that are having to deal with, other states, processes, or even just like figuring out fee structures or title structures with trades or anything like that for taxes and fees? Or is there even just like a community, a place to have this conversation for title clerks out there? Is that kind of what NIVTA is working toward?
You hit the nail on the head, Kyle. That is NIVTA. NIVTA is that place for everyone to come in as resources. Right now, NIVTA is going through a very big data collection project. We're going across and surveying all the states right now for changes that occurred after our last legislation session, because we're getting a lot of pushback when electronic signature document is presented to us in our offices as title agents, and then it goes out to the state and it's not accepted. So we're digging in deep right now to find out where those states are truly, what we can do to make the changes in the forefront, and then also how we can share that education on how you deal with a customer that might be from Missouri or New Mexico. I mean, every state we're dealing with varying documentation requirements and fees. So Kyle, our organization is a place for them to come to for that kind of support. But I will say that there are a lot of vendors out there that assist dealers, especially with national title and registration work. And I recommend, if you're doing a high volume of out-of-state work in your dealership, which most likely you are now, thanks to the internet and COVID, you're accessing customers in other states, using sources like that are very, very beneficial. But the biggest key is for your title department to make sure that they're relying on the direct DMV websites. We see a lot of imposters out there, and I think it's really important they go there because that's where a lot of those fee calculators, we've advocated for the states to put that right on their websites and their title applications. So that's where I would steer them to, Kyle, but always reach out to us. I have many folks across the country reaching out saying that they're experiencing a processing delay, or when we had the cyber attack, some of the issues that were going on out in California. So reach out. I think the biggest thing is just know that there's a space that you can say, hey, we're having this problem. Can you help us or give us direction?
Man, I
Yeah,
can't
for
imagine
sure.
like 10 years ago when I was selling. So we used Fraser as a DMS, which is like what a lot of independents use because it's a very
Yep.
inexpensive one. And I can't tell you how many times I had to go to Google and type in what is the sales tax in this state? And then I had to trust Google and then sell a car based off of that. Like I knew what Indiana
There
was. I
was
knew
a
what Michigan
huge
was.
book.
Knew what,
There was a
yeah,
huge book
yeah.
that you
And
had
then
to like flip through to
that's
find
right.
all of the things. How do you sign this title over? It was like ridiculous at some
Yeah,
point. Do you remember that, Beth?
Yep.
that's
I
nuts.
have the online version now.
Yeah.
And like the other cool thing about NIVTA is like you're able to help like give resources to ongoing changes. Perfect example.
Yes.
Indiana, they recently changed how you would send in the sales tax. There was a time when you would send it to the other state. And then
Yes.
Indiana wanted to be the one to be the middleman for that fiduciary responsibility. So just being a part of NIVTA and having dealers come to you for that resource, man, I can only imagine like how big of like not only like an influence, but like a savings of time and resources that is.
Absolutely, Jordan. Savings of time, but also fraud tools.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
that's a big one that we talk about often in this space because there's a lot of things that they can do to speed along the process now. There's a lot of rush ways you can do things or reach out to other third parties in other states to say, we need to have you walk this into the DMV and get it taken care of immediately. So there's a big third party network across this entire country. And that's another thing NIVTA is grouping together are those third parties. And then also digging into what are their true specialties, because every third party is different in what they do for the community. So using resources like that are very beneficial to help the customers push forward and get things done. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about some of those fraud tools. So when we get to some of that, I'll dive in deep there because there are some immediates that they're not mandated, but everyone should be using.
Yeah. And a lot of your vendors have those intertwined in their software. So picking a vendor that is up to date is important, and your associations will make sure that you're picking the right one because they endorse them. So you should check those out all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of those specific resources that someone could be looking at today outside of just like their state DMV websites? Like you said, like fraud protection and things like that. Is there a list of those somewhere or can we send that potentially post webinar to people or if they need it, they could find it somewhere on NIVTA?
Yes, we can put out a special piece just after this webinar together, Kyle, because I'd love to make sure to share that with the community. The biggest tool that we've really been seeing that is helping to prevent fraud is the NIVTA report. The NIVTA report was really launched in just beginning of COVID into the community. And as COVID went about, more and more states connected to this database. There's still a lot of work to be done. I work with this group on a high level. NIVTA is overseen and ran by AMVA. And AMVA is a group where it's all of the DMV administrators. It's actually a very great organization in this space to lean on and look at for training material and resources. So as we talk about the DMV sites, AMVA is also another resource that I recommend out to the community. But NIVTA is very dedicated in being in that world. So that way, as we have the workshops with them, the content coming out, that can be shared out with the community through our website, our LinkedIn page, our member portal. And that way you have access to those tools. But NVIDIS is the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System. And that system allows you to know when you get a trade-in at your dealership that is the most recent title. I don't know how many nightmare stories that you guys can probably pull from your trade-in files, but Erica and I have lots that we've talked about. And this is
for instance,
Yeah,
you
go
could
ahead,
have a trade that comes in, and then all of a sudden you go to title it and you realize, wow, they went and got a secondary lien on that trade. You had no idea. And now there's $4,000 due on a $300 car that you purchased.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or there's like some state lien on it too from,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I won't go there, but the list goes on and on for how many different fees can be assigned to a vehicle on that title.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. We're gonna flash a couple of these the domains here on the screen. So if you're watching or in the comments, you can find these associations that can support a lot of what they're talking about. So the AAMVA, which is running that NMVITIS organization. So yeah,
the acronyms.
yeah, lots of acronyms, but it's really cool to see like all of this stuff. I mean, how many title clerks just aren't given the resources, learning technology, understanding, and are kind of having to figure this out. But between your org and those couple organizations, there's obviously plenty of information out there that people can be looking for and resource their title clerks, resource their title department with opportunities to raise customer satisfaction via, just making sure that you have better processes and better opportunities to serve customers. How can people get involved as we wrap up here?
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. So we've got 3 levels for membership now, but we're really encouraging and working right now on our state affiliates or state associations. We're encouraging those dealer title clerks where there is a state association and where you are present to advocate for them to join our group. That way we can share our information with all of the members in their state. And that way they have a dedicated title and registration resource for their association. So when they're having an issue, because we work with every state, we are continuously having conversations with them. And that way we can go and we can help to support them. Because as I've been doing my research, I'm finding that there are states out there that do not have dealer associations. Maine is one of those states. So you have to think about that state there, though, plays a big role for a lot of the dealerships in the northeastern quadrant. So having someone to be able to support you with your main title work, that would be very essential. And having this type of organization partnered with those state associations, I think is the biggest way for us to win. It's voice and volumes right now. That's what's needed. But we do still have a couple of other levels. We have a business partnership level. I will say we have a founding business partner, Autodata Direct. That's another vendor and a great resource to use because they have vehicle data records that your company can sign up and access that prevents you from that fraud or getting a trade-in that has 2-3 loans on it. Surprises. And then, of course, there's a level for just a tag agency or a dealership. But again, we encourage if they have an association they belong to reach out to them for them to join.
Awesome. Well, Beth, Erica, thank you so much for joining us today. Excited about the work that you're doing, even though it's not one that's out there in the front of the public eye that much. There's still a necessary part of our industry, a massive employee network that is a part of the title department, and appreciate the work that you all are doing. And if you have any questions, please go to NIVTA.org, check that out. And we'll make sure and send this recording out. If you have any questions, you can also reach out to Beth or Erica. Throw it back to you, Anne Marie.
Thanks everyone for being here. That was a great webinar. And like Kyle said, Beth has done so much work behind the scenes, just to make titling easier for, dealerships. So thanks again to Beth Caro, founder of NIVTA, and Erica Calderon with MEDA. And thanks for Jordan and Kyle being here too. All right, y'all, we'll see you next time.